Welcome back. In this video, we are going to cover two elements that are absolutely foundational to evaluating your business and growing your business. And those two pieces are market size and competition. Okay? So before we get into that, let me just see how things are going. So by this time, you guys should all have experience breaking out into your small breakout groups, giving updates in terms of what you've done so far, right? And getting feedback from the teaching team member. And hopefully you are actually engaging in those conversations as well. Because remember, each of you brings different networks, different expertise, different understanding, even different ideas to the table. So participate in the discussions. Not definitely when you're speaking, right, and giving an update in terms of your business, but when someone else is giving an update, see if you can help them, encourage them, come up with different contacts, come up with different ideas in terms of lifting them up as well. By this time, you should have taken at least a shot at the business model canvas. Once again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but take a shot at it. Try to fill in the boxes. And then hopefully what you did is you started at least some of the interviews in our customer discovery process. Because remember, customer discovery, start with the business model canvas, and then we go out there and try to validate some of those hypotheses or theses that we have in terms of talking to potential customers, potential partners, vendors, suppliers, even competitors. And what we're trying to do is validate whether there is a problem or an issue and whether we truly have a value proposition that we can bring to that customer base. And then record that in your customer scorecard. Okay, so once again, let's step back and review the process before we jump into the topic for this week. So it starts with, Bill comes up with a great idea, right? So every one of you guys are going to have ideas through the sessions that I was talking with people. You guys have many ideas, right? So the whole idea is, whoa, I've got this brilliant idea. I think it is, right? So what do we do after we have that idea? We jump into this customer discovery process. Come up with a business model canvas, start interviewing potential customers, right? Suppliers, vendors, some of those. Record that on the customer scorecard. And the whole idea of talking to people is that we're trying to get data. We're trying to get confirmation that this problem or issue or opportunity truly exists. And if it does exist, then what we are looking at is basically sitting there and saying, who is that target customer that has that? You could have multiple customer segments, but we're really trying to define who that specific customer is, and then what value do we bring to them, okay? And once we do that, and we have really good validation that there's a customer segment and a value that we're bringing to them, we have what we call product market fit. These two boxes on the business model canvas, right? That's when we know we've made progress and that now we have the opportunity. I'm feeling really good. What happens is as you do more interviews, you're either going to get more bullish in that this thing truly has some potential, or you're going to find out maybe this isn't the biggest problem in the world, and maybe I need to pivot and try to find something different, okay? So let's say everything is going well, right? So then what do we do next? So if things are going well and I'm starting to get really good feedback, two of the most natural questions that come about right away is, wow, that's great. This seems like this is a great idea. I know my target customer. I understand my value proposition. Now the question is, how big is that opportunity? Is it a really big opportunity? Is it a small opportunity? We'll talk about why that's extremely important to figure that out. And then the second piece is, let's say it's a pretty decent sized opportunity. Who else is doing this? Who are my competitors? And what competitive advantage do I have over my competition? So those are the two things we're going to cover in this video. So the first one is, how big is this opportunity? Or you can also look at it as, let's do an analysis on what the market opportunity looks like for this, okay? And the way we do that is you're going to hear these words, TAM, SAM, SOM. So you'll hear that over again. Those are some words that we utilize on the entrepreneurship side. So the TAM is your total available market, okay? So that's the total market demand for your product or service. We'll talk, and this will become much more clear when we go through some examples, but think about this as the entire market. If I were to sell to everybody, right? The SAM is the serviceable available market. That's a segment of your TAM. It's a smaller segment that you might be going after that, within, let's say, a geographic reach or a certain product reach, okay? And then the SOM is your serviceable attainable market. And what that is basically your target market, okay? So you can think of this like, okay, let's say, if everyone in the world bought my product, that would be the total available market. How many people would that be? If I sit there and say, okay, but I'm going to start in the United States, and so that would be my service available market. But to prove that this thing's going to work, I'm going to start with my obtainable market, which is in the state of Iowa. So if I can prove it in the state of Iowa, maybe I can go national, and then I can go global, right? So that's a geographic example of breaking down your market size. And what you want to do is basically say how large those different pieces are, okay? Now, why does market size matter? That's one of the questions that typically comes up. The whole idea of market size, the reason it matters is that, let's say you through your customer discovery process, you decide that, hey, this customer segment does have this issue, and here's my value prop. I can solve that problem. But the problem is, if there's only 3 people in the entire world that have that problem, it's still a good idea, especially for those 3 people. But can you see how that's not a sustainable business proposition, right? You can sell it to 2, maybe 3 of them, and you're done. Right? There's no more business to be had. Okay? That's why market size matters. Okay? So we're looking at how big is that market. Now you could sit there and say everybody's a potential customer, everybody. But then in that case, you don't have a lot of focus. So that's why we're trying to break down the market to what's your obtainable market. So the whole idea is that how big is that market, and then where are we going to focus on? How do we actually get to market? What's my obtainable market? That's that target market that I'm going to go after first. Okay? Traditionally, the larger the market, the better. Primarily because it's easier to actually execute. It's easier to sit there and say, I'm going to get a small percentage of a larger market than a larger percentage of a smaller market. So imagine if there were only 100 people, and I sat there and told you that I was going to get 95 of those people to buy. So 95% penetration rate. Even though you don't know what it is, you're going to sit there and say, Bill, I don't know if out of 100 people you can sell 95 of anything, right? That's a really high percentage that you got to convert. Now, if there were 100,000 people, and of those that are potentially interested customers, and I just have to get 95 of them, can you see, without even understanding what my product or service is, you know that my probability of success is much higher because it's a larger market of people. So traditionally, larger markets are better. But once again, in your target market or obtainable market, your SOM, you want to make sure we're targeting something that we can definitely go execute on, right? But the larger market is a larger market, okay? And so, and through this, you also want to make sure that, when you're talking about this, this is believable, right? So yes, I think I can go after everyone in the country, but you know what? I'm going to focus on this first, because if I can prove the value of it to this, community, then here's how I'm going to go market to each of the different other states, or maybe it's, the nation, or it could be global, okay? So that's why market size is extremely important to try to figure out, okay? A couple of approaches on how you might be able to do this. There's one approach called the top-down method, and there's the other one called the bottom-up, okay? Top-down, what that would look like is basically if you had a research organization, someone like a Forrester, Gartner, some association group, an industry trade, something like that that has a report that says, this is how large the industry is, right? So example would be, let's say I was going to sell a hydrogen-powered car, right? So what I would buy, the total available market would be all the automobiles sold in a year. So I go look at an industry trade rag, they tell you this is how many millions of cars are actually sold on an annual basis. And then I might sit there and say, okay, what about electric or alternative energy type cars? That might be my SAM, right? And then my obtainable market would be specifically for hydrogen, at least vehicles initially, right? People that are probably more early adopters that will be willing to take a chance for a new technology, right? And then that's a top-down analysis starting with an industry report. They'd probably sit down there and say, here's how many people would be looking for alternative types of energy sources for their cars. And then here's what might be, in your best guesstimate, what you're going to be in terms of an attainable market, okay? So that's a top-down approach. A bottoms-up approach would be, I can't find any industry data, so I'm going to start by building it from the ground up. So let's say I had a proposition where I was selling teachers, right? And there was no things, no industry trade rags in terms of selling this specific product to teachers, right? So what I'm going to do is start at the bottom and say, okay, in our local area here in Des Moines, let's say there's actually in the state of Iowa, let's say, that's what my SOM is going to be, 50,000 teachers from the elementary, high school, and college, teachers in there, 50,000 of them, and that's where I'm going to start. Once I prove that these teachers like my product or service, whatever I'm selling, then I'm going to actually go to the Midwest. So I'm going to go into some other territories like Kansas, Minnesota, Nebraska, Illinois. So I'm going around to the state, the surrounding states in the Midwest, and that would be my SAM, okay? And then my total available market is the entire United States, all the teachers actually in the United States, okay? That's how I'd break it down. But since I don't have any industry information, I'm going to build the numbers from the bottom up. right? And then I'm going to multiply it by how much my product costs, and I get my idea in terms of market size. So those are two different types of approaches, top down or bottoms up. Take a look at both for your proposition and see which one makes most sense for you as you go forward, okay? And we'll use some examples to help you understand it all, okay? So throughout the video series, I'm going to use a couple of different companies that I've worked on in the past that pretty interesting ideas, and I'm going to use those as examples. So just let me take a little bit of time to explain those to you, and then we'll jump into what they look like. So the first one is called digital diaper, okay? And so what a digital diaper is I'm not sure if you know, but in a nursing home or assisted living, one of the largest causes of death is infection, and the number one is the urinary tract infection. So one of the ways that these urinary tract infections occur is basically the digital diaper is an adult diaper. So somebody's wearing an adult diaper, so someone in the nursing home, and what happens is, let's say you urinate in the diaper, and what happens is as you're sitting in the diaper, the bacteria in the urine can go up your yoo-hoo, and essentially because you're older, you don't develop symptoms, right, until, let's say, they go into your kidneys or they go into your bloodstream. And at that point, when you get diagnosed, because now you have symptoms, if it's in your bloodstream or your kidneys, they have to use harsher antibiotics to get rid of it. And as a person of elderly, let's say, somewhat more fragile state, these antibiotics can do a lot of damage to the body, and these are not great situations, okay? Now, the whole idea of the digital diaper is if we had a diaper, why wouldn't we have a small fuel cell on there that's activated by the urine, okay? The specific battery, and then what it does is activates a sensor and tries to detect if there's actually bacteria present, okay? And if there is, and then it signals and says, hey, maybe we should run a test on this person. So it's a sensor. It's not diagnostic in the sense that it doesn't say, yes, you have a UTI, but it says maybe you should actually evaluate this patient. So it's an early warning indicator. That's what the digital diaper is, okay? As far as market size goes, what we looked at was the total available market for diapers is, $9 billion throughout the entire world, right? And then what we're looking at is basically, we think, maybe half of those could actually utilize, whether you're at home or not. It'd be nice to have a sensor on those. So about $5 billion would be your SAM, your addressable market, because this is really the market that would probably buy an electronic or digital diaper. And then the SOM, your target market, we decided we're going to start with the United States and Japan first. I don't know if you know, but in Japan, adult diapers actually outsell baby diapers, and we thought that would be a great market to go after initially, just because of the propensity and the elderly population there, and that we could help prevent these UTI infections, right? So that gives you sort of an idea of a market size, okay? Here's another example, and I'm going to use this business as an example as we go forward in other videos as well, but the idea of this company is heated pavements. And the idea is we would put conductive material inside of the driveway, inside the concrete, okay? While we're pouring the concrete, it has this conductive agent. We run electricity into it, and so therefore when you flip the switch, it turns into basically a big heater. Now it doesn't get super hot, it's just trying to melt the snow away, but basically it melts the snow and ice away. So flip the switch and melt your troubles away. So that's the heated pavement, okay? And in this case, there was really not a lot of data in the big site, so we did a bottoms-up approach and said, you know what we're going to do, even though it's applicable for existing driveways and commercial properties and government places, we're going to just go do new homes. We need somewhere to focus. So if you're going to build a new home, you have to lay out a new driveway anyways. So if you're going to lay out a new driveway, why wouldn't you pay a $2,500 extra to make that specific driveway a heated driveway as opposed to just having a normal driveway? On average, about $2,500, okay? So then we looked at the market and said there's about 200,000 homes that are being built basically in the Midwest that we're going to go target, right? So that's a pretty decent market size at 200,000. And then if we're doing well there, there's about 500,000 total brand new homes that are to be built in more warmer climates. And then the total market would be about 1 million. But not all of those are going to be applicable because there not be million, 1.2 million new homes that are on an annual basis. But not all of those are going to be in colder climates. So that's sort of the market size breakdown. Okay. Here's some other examples. I'm not going to go over them too much, but Airbnb, they said there's 2 billion people that book online. 560 million of those customers are budget and online shoppers. and therefore they think that they could probably get some percentage of it. 84 million people booking it with them at an average of $25. That's a $2 billion market play, right? Here's one on cancers. They're saying their total available market, the entire market, is $5 billion for this type of solid cancer. And then they thought that the SAM, if we just looked at cancers in the U.S., that'd be about $1 billion. And then inside of there, we're going to start with bladder cancer, which is about a $250 million opportunity. Okay, and then here's one that's on mobile detailing and breaking that down in terms of that. So hopefully you can sort of see how these market sizes can break down. Okay, so that's market size. So that's the first thing. Once again, I come up with an idea. We went out there and did some customer discovery. Looks like there's potential there. I identify my customer segment, understand the value prop that we're bringing to them, and now we're looking at market size. Wow, the market is pretty nice, right? Hey, Bill, this is a really good market that there. It's pretty large, right? Wow, that's fantastic. So now the key question is, who else is doing this then, right? Because if it's a pretty nice market, great opportunity, there's going to be competition. And a couple notes, competition is okay. We would like competition. In fact, you don't ever want to say we have no competitors. There's got to be some way the customer is fixing or solving that problem or filling that opportunity today, okay? Might not be someone doing it exactly like you are, but you still have competition, okay? So don't fear competition. Don't, shy away from competition. In fact, there's a couple things that I want you to do specifically. One is truly understand your competitive landscape. This is one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs, I don't know why specifically. I think it's because they kind of don't want to know if there's other people doing it. But the key is for you, if you're really serious about being successful in your business, and you should be, make sure you understand the competition, okay? Who are they, right? Try to learn a lot about them. Understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, and understand where your strengths or weaknesses are compared to them, right? So there might be large competitors, that's fine, but typically larger competitors move slower. They can't do as many customizations. They might not be able to do smaller accounts because they've moved too up, and so therefore they can't handle medium-sized customers or small customers, right? So there's always advantages that you have. That's what you got to think about. Where do they excel and where do you excel? And where you excel, where you have those advantages, is where you're going to focus in terms of how you're going to go get those customers, okay? And the one thing we're going to do for this program is each of you is going to develop a competitive analysis matrix or a table, right, that compares you to the different competitors. It'll actually be used in your investor pitch. And what the whole idea there is, at a glance, when someone looks at it, whether it's a banker, investor, yourself, somebody, we can look at that matrices, right, and right away you can sort of pull out, oh, I see the difference between you and the competitors. I see why you have a competitive advantage or why you think you can beat the competition. That's what we're going to do, okay? So this is what we're going to look like. It's going to be some type of table. I think every one of you have seen something like this. Sometimes they have check marks. Sometimes I like ones that have words and numbers on them typically, but you can have check marks as well on there, okay? And the whole idea of the matrix is, here are the different things, and then who is my competition? So let me give you a little bit of a narrative. Like, let's say I'm talking about heated pavements. So this is what this is. What I would tell you is, okay, in the area of heated pavements, there are some competition. There are systems called the hydronic system. And what the hydronic system is basically we would run pipes underneath the driveway, right? And basically there's antifreeze inside those pipes. And the antifreeze come into a boiler. Basically we heat up the antifreeze, might be in your garage or in your basement. So basically you heat up the antifreeze and it goes in these pipes under your driveway, right? But the issue is it costs more to implement. So that's what is it? $12,000 to $15,000 to implement this system. And the system, it breaks. I mean, this is a pipe underneath. It actually can freeze. It can do different things. And if it actually does break or crack, it becomes an environmental hazard because you're actually leaking antifreeze down into the ground, which isn't good, right? So the actual expense of ripping it out, because you got to rip out your driveway, get to the pipes, it costs a lot of money. In addition, every time you run it, because of the snow, it costs you $12, right? If you compare that to our heated pavement solution, every time you flip the switch, it's only a couple dollars, right? $2 to $3. And to implement it, actually the system cost is about $2,500 above just laying a driveway, okay? Now the main competition is probably snow removal services or people who do it themselves, right? So maybe it's worth it that, I'd shovel my own snow. I'll buy a snow blower and shovel my own snow, or pay somebody $50 every time it snows versus paying $2,500. Okay, That's okay. That's a competition as well. The way we sell against that would be, well, you understand that, shoveling snow is a horrible proposition. Typically, you have to shovel it at times that you don't like. So, I got to get to work in the morning. It snowed overnight, so I have to go clear out my driveway before I get ready for work to get out of there. Other times, there's articles that I would talk about in terms of, people that are over 50 years old. You sort of have to watch your health in terms of that, slipping and falling. Over 1 million people slip and fall and hurt themselves. And there are a lot of people that actually get heart attacks while shoveling snow as well, right? So maybe it's not the wisest thing. Why don't you solve that by just flipping the switch with heated pavements? Now, there is a fourth competitor that's called heated, driveway mats, right? They're actually mats, and they have basically wire in them, and they're plastic. They work okay for things like, I don't know, maybe on your back porch or something like that, but they don't work on your driveway because if you drive over them, they break, right? And they cost just as much, and actually if you buy enough mats for your entire driveway, even though it's not practical, you're actually spending a lot more money, okay? So can you see how here's our advantage? And the key with these competitive matrices, when you're presenting them, is you're telling them a story, okay? So the story that I always tell, let's say if I'm selling heated pavements or I'm pitching to you, is that for $2,500, you're going to be building a brand new house, and for $2,500 extra, I can turn your driveway into a heated driveway, right? And basically you flip the switch, it's connected up to your electrical system, and it's done. And it's better than the competition. Hydronic systems have problems, heated driveway mats. Now, if the $2,500 isn't worth to you, that's fine. You can shovel snow, you can go get a snow removal service. But to me, the convenience of flipping a switch for $2,500 is worth it, all right? So that's a competitive matrix for that. Here's one for the digital diaper. So the digital diaper, there are other people that have digital diapers, okay? But the difference is ours is a disposable diaper, so the actual fuel cell and the sensor are actually biodegradable, and you can throw them away. So when you throw them in the trash, they biodegrade, okay? That's one. The competition, what they have is they have those little wet strips on them, but they have a box. So you have to put a box on the patient or the resident, and what happens is the box detects the wetness and tells somebody. So it doesn't do any type of analysis on it to detect the UTI, so that's one of the disadvantages. So there are some other digital diapers, but ours is the only one that truly detects UTIs, okay? So the story that I tell around here is for 25 cents more. So per diaper, it is still 25 cents more per diaper than the competition, okay? But what you get for that 25 cents is a sensor, check the UTI. So basically, my cell would traditionally be, let's say in this one, I'm talking to, let's say a son or a daughter of, let's say, a mother or father that's in a nursing home. And so don't you think, for 25 cents extra a diaper, right, you get the peace of mind that you get early detection on a potential urinary tract infection or other types of infections that hopefully can not only increase the quality of the life, but also the length or the longevity of your mom or dad's life, right? So is that worth it or not? So it's a pretty compelling sell, and it shows that we're the only one that really are detecting UTIs, right, in terms of that. Other ones are doing some of the other things we're doing, but we're the only ones that are actually in the market that are detecting UTIs at this point, okay? So that's a competitive matrices. Now, what we want you to do for next week is to do a matrix, like this one or like this one, right? So it's basically rectangular, fill in the boxes, okay? Now, there are other types of analysis you can do or different types of kind of diagrams. These are the most common. These are the ones that people traditionally see. If you're applying for, let's say, a grant for the state, they're going to want one of these, okay? Now, there are some other kinds of diagrams. There's the quadrant diagrams. I like quadrant diagrams when you're sort of trying to position yourself in the market and say, okay, where's the competition? And then, what sector of it do we want to, if there is a lot of competition, right? So these come out good for that way. Once again, I'm going to ask you to do the other type, not one of these. And then they also have these new ones called pedal diagrams, and that basically combines. So if you create a product that combines the functions of several different other products, but you're putting it into one product, you see that a lot happening on the technology side. As we roll up and mash up different kind of technologies into usable components, they use it. So you don't see very many of these type of diagrams, but it's another one that you see once in a while, okay? So I want you to create one of those regular matrices. So the assignment for next week, okay, this is what you guys need to pull together for next week, is basically continue your customer interviews, right? Write down the name of who you spoke with, right? Keep the contact information. What category? Are they a potential customer? Are they an early adopter customer? Meaning that is that somebody that you think would utilize your product or service pretty quickly, or are they kind of a customer that's waiting for it to be proven before it goes to market? And then as you have that conversation, what's that interest level? Were they interested in what you were talking about? Very interested, somewhat interested. So document that. So the category could be potential customer. It could also be, I talked to a partner, potential partner, vendor, supplier, competitor. So we're just going to keep track of these. And just as a reminder, the reason we keep track of them is that towards the end of the program, we're going to go take all that data and then sit there and say, let's say you decide, yes, we're going to go sell this product. It's got great market potential. I've already figured out who wants to buy some of these kind of things or what customer segment. Here's the value prop. And then you go through this list and say, you know what? I've had, let's say 22 great conversations based on this, right? I'm going to call them up first and say, hey, this is Bill Adamowski. Remember I spoke to you about blah, 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 blah. I've got an interesting product that I'd love to come show you. Based on our conversation, based on all the fantastic feedback that you gave me, I think I have a solution that might be helpful for you, right? So then you get your first sales call, hopefully your first sale, second sale, third sale. So the whole idea is that let's go set up our sales. I mean, that's what we're going to use this for later. But right now, we're just keeping track of everybody, right? Now, for the assignment, do TAM, SAM, SOM. So take a shot at it. Once again, when you get back into class, what we're going to do is basically work with your teaching team and try to figure out, okay, is this the right? Are you going in the right direction? Is it big enough? Is it too small? Maybe you have a product and your market size isn't that big. You might sit there and say, okay, maybe we're going to have multiple products, right? Or if you come in and say, my market's ginormous, that's great. But then we have to sit there and say, okay, that's going to be hard because now, we need one target customer. And maybe your target market, your SOM, needs to reflect just that specific market so that we're going after these people, right? So that's what we're going to be discussing in class. So take a shot at that. Maybe write a story out, right? Why you think these numbers matter, why you think why'd you break it up that way, okay? And then take a shot at your competitive matrix. Once again, if your market size looks pretty decent, the natural question that's going to come out after that is, who else is doing this, right? And what I want to see from your competitive matrix is when I look at it, I want to see that you have a competitive advantage, right? I should also tell you that the competitive matrix is going to be biased, right? Meaning that, I want to see your competitive advantages. If your competitors are pulling together, they're going to come up with a whole different matrix, right? But you're going to see what they think their advantages are. So if Walmart was a competitor, it would be right in your face, say, we are the low-cost leader. We have so much volume that we can undercut anybody in terms of price. Yours is, that's great, but our product is so much better, right? That kind of thing. So both of you will have two different competitive matrices, maybe with the same competitors on there, but can you see how the different kind of things that I have on this column over here is going to be different, okay? So take a shot at your competitive matrices. Maybe tell a story just like I did down here, right? The story for the heated pavements. $2,500 extra. You're going to pour a brand new driveway anyways. Why wouldn't you do that? For $2,500, you don't ever have to worry about plowing your driveway again. Snowstorms coming, flip the switch, right? Oh, I forgot to flip the switch. There's some snow on the driveway. Flip the switch, let it melt away, right? So tell a story down here in terms of how you compare to the competition, okay? And then for next week, document what your goals are for the week and what you've accomplished for the week. So in summary, in this video, continue with your customer discovery. Critical that you keep on talking to customers. This is how we're going to find out whether we truly have a great business idea, a good market opportunity to go after. If you're starting to feel good about that, these are kind of two critical components. Market size, how big is that opportunity? And then opportunity looks pretty good. Who else is doing it? That's your competition, right? And so make sure you get those done and then complete your week 2 in your success journal. And I will see you guys next week. Sound good? Thank you.